What's up, everybody? I got a couple ideas rolling around in my head today. I've been trying to figure out why limits produce personality. Limits are boundaries. Limits are rules. Limits are things that we cannot pass. It's a border. It's a frame that we can't go on the outside of. And I've often looked at limits as something that works against you. And I'm starting to think of limits as something that works for you. And I think the reason is because limitations force you to work within the boundaries. And so it's like being creative with what you have more than trying to have more. I've often said that it's like 3 lines. Somebody who wants more will multiply the lines. They'll go from 3 to 6. Here, check this out. See that thing? Pretty sure that's a turkey vulture. That's pretty sick. There he goes. Okay, anyway. So someone who multiplies, who's good with resources, they'll turn 3 lines to 6 lines. Somebody who's creative will turn 3 lines into a triangle. They'll make something new out of the same amount of lines. So it's not a multiplier, it's just making something novel, something unique, right? So productivity says, I will make more of the thing, and creativity says, I will make more from the thing. And so when you are given limitations, as in you can't have more quantity, you are limited, you don't have enough resources, you are forced to flex the creativity muscle. And so since you have to do more with less, that means the emphasis is not on what you have, but instead what you do. And that means it's more on you. The emphasis is on you, not what you have. And since the emphasis is on you, it's up to you to calculate. And if you're calculating, that means the answers are unique to you because you're the one who came up with them. And so something that I've been doing recently is, well, let me say this. I used to be like, okay, here's a question. What is this thing? I don't understand it. And I'd go to the top 10 experts and read their books, listen to their podcast, and I'd come to a meta summary of what everybody else believes. Here's the common things that all of them believe. That means it's probably true. What? Yeah? My son's saying stuff. And that's true. It's probably true because if everybody is saying it, there's a good chance, probability-wise, that it is true. But recently what I've been doing is I've been trying to calculate my own answers. And there's a couple reasons for this. The first one is if you adhere to what everybody else thinks, even if it's right, you're not going to have a unique voice. You're just going to be saying what everybody else is saying. And nobody needs that because everybody else is already saying it. So you go from being creative to being productive, but then you become a machine that pumps out everybody else's product. You know, there's nothing novel about it. But you need that because if you're only unique, then there's nobody that's going to be able to understand you because nobody's going to be able to reach you. There's no common bridge at which they can understand you. And so you need to be able to speak other people's language so that they can understand you, but you also need to be able to say something unique, something novel, something that makes you different. And so I've been starting to calculate instead of just research. You know, what do I think about this? Instead of going to the books and to Google search and to ChatGPT or whatever, I just sit down with a piece of paper and a pen. And I start thinking, okay, if this is true, then this would be true. If this is true, then this would be true. And that means I would get to this weird, wonky answer that I've never even heard of before. And it's because it came from me, like it was unique. I had to flex my creativity muscle to be able to come up with the answer. And so I think that the way that I've been thinking is similar to other people because it's founded on the teachers that I've been given. It's not like I can say I didn't learn from everybody else. Just like you don't get mad at your 2nd grade math teacher just because you moved to 3rd grade math. It's like, you founded on that. So you should give them due respect. But I just feel like I'm starting to come up with unique answers. So the limitations that I give myself, the limitations are I'm going to give myself specific boundaries to force the creativity to come out, and the emphasis goes from what to who. Because the type of answer that I'm gonna give when it's on me is the type of answer that I would give because it's on me, which means that my personality is gonna come out. I heard Matthew McConaughey say in a podcast recently, I think it was Chris Williamson's podcast, not the newest one, the like 892 or something like that, because they just came out with a 1000. But he said that, what was it? Limits produce style. And it's because if you have to work within the boundaries of where it's safe to play, the thing that you can't pass, you have to make what you have work. And so it just puts emphasis on what are you going to bring to the table rather than more. It's quality, it's not quantity, right? And so we have to learn the measurement. You could think of it as like 3 tiers. You have the first tier, which is your extremely abstract spiritual being, and you don't even know English. You don't know body language. You don't know the importance of actions. You don't know how to use money. You don't know any of that stuff. You don't know anything about time. And then as you get older, you start to learn about all these different currencies. And the currencies are the way that the world speaks, right? It's the physical space-time matter world. Body language is a physical thing. Words are more concrete than your ideas. Actions are absolutely concrete. And time and, what was the other thing? Time, we'll just go with time. Time is, any entrepreneur knows that time is the most valuable thing you have. And so if you learn to use those currencies, you'll be able to do the things that you would like and say the things that you would like because you've learned the language of the world, right? But you don't stop there. Because if you become the world itself, again, you just lose yourself inside of it. You're not unique. There's a lot of intelligent people who are hardworking, people that just sound the same as everybody else. And it's because they didn't just learn the language, they became the language. Well, you're not supposed to be the language. You're supposed to communicate through it. And what do you communicate? Well, you communicate your abstractness. So you got 3 tiers, right? You are a unique, awesome individual that nobody can understand unless you learn the language. The language is the measurement. The measurement is the uniting force in which everybody meets each other on. It's the concrete bridge in which we can all walk to each other and hold hands, right? It's the measurement. That's why a ruler, this is kind of cool. Rulers are people who run things, right? They're the people in power. Power is order. When you measure something with a ruler, you're figuring out what the order of something is. And so somebody who rules is somebody who sets rules. Rules are the measurement that we can know where each other is at. Okay, so here's another thing. You have to know, you need limitations because you have to know where you end and where the world begins. So the measurement is the world, and again, you are abstract. So the rules act as a place where you know where you end. That's why people abide to governments. If the government has a rule, you have to follow it. And it's because if your territory expanded across the entire world, then nobody would be able to be in connection with you and be in relationship with you, because it would just be you, because your territory expands across the entire world. So there has to be self-sacrifice to be in relationship. And we know this because anytime you hang out with somebody, we do this in a conversation. Like if you just talked the whole time, nobody's gonna want to talk to you because they never even got to talk in the first place. You have to sacrifice some of your speaking time for the other person. You have to listen and understand and give them compliments. And you could look at that as like, oh my gosh, that's a limitation. I'm never gonna be free. Oh my gosh, it's just so much work talking to people because I have to spend half the time on them And it's like, yeah, but you get the relationship and you get to enjoy that. And so that's what rules are supposed to be. That's the intention of rules anyway. Is it's the point where your territory ends, and so everybody can be in proper relationship, right? So the ruler, the guy in power, he sets rules, which are the measurements in which we know where we end and where we begin. We know where we are locationally and where everybody else is, so that we know when to submit, so that we can keep the unity that runs the place. And so that's what discipline is, I think. I think discipline, again, is the place in which everybody meets, because you send out a consistent signal that they can understand. You communicate in the way that the world understands. It's where your abstractness ends and the world begins. And if you view it as a symbol, like we've been saying, a symbol being the union between the rational and the irrational as in beyond reason. Well, you are irrational, as in you are beyond reason. You're a spirit. And if you speak the language of the world through action, words, body language, the way you use your time and money, what you're saying to the world is who you are. And you're saying it in a way that they can understand it. And so, okay, so the 3-step tier, you're abstract, nobody understands you. You're able to speak the language of the world now, but you lose yourself inside of the language and you become just another average Joe. You have nothing good to say because you're so worried about meeting the measurement that you become the measurement. And when you become the measurement, then you're not unique, because that's the standard that everybody is united in. And if you are everybody, then you're not yourself. So then the 3rd step would be able to express your uniqueness or personality or who you are through the measurement or through the rules or through the language of the world. And that takes guts, because you have to know who you are. You have to know not only how to do things the proper way, in a way that is self-sacrificing and fosters relationship, but also in a way that doesn't make it so that you just become another robot in the machine. And so, I'll be honest with you, these are newer thoughts, but I think the way to do that is to just be genuine. You just be genuine. You tell people how you feel. You tell people what you actually think. You know, if someone upsets you, you tell them. You don't do it mean, because that's part of the measurement. The measurement is, you know, being respectful, doing things out of love. But you still tell them. You tell them how something makes you feel. If somebody upset you, you can go to them, be honest with them, be vulnerable with them, and trust them. And that's how you don't lose yourself inside of the measurement of respectful behavior, because you can. You can bottle all that stuff up and act like everything's okay, and everybody will like you to a certain extent because you're so respectful and you're so nice and you never flinch. You know, you just say yes all the time. But then you lose yourself and you have pain inside because you feel like no one understands you, and it's because, yeah, you didn't express yourself. So, all right. I think that's it for now. I'm gonna write all this stuff down, finally. It's hard, dude. It's hard finding time. I try to do it in the mornings, but for the past 3 mornings, this thing and my other kid keeps waking up during my writing time, and it's like, well, they're the priority, so I can't write, so I just speak instead. And try to formalize, try to concretize, so by the time I sit back at the desk, I'm good to go. You know, when you're a dad, you just find time. You just find it everywhere. So, check this out. Say hi. All right, I'll see you guys on the next one.